I'm Joan, and I lost my husband, Henry. My husband died on July 1994. He had already been in comatose for 2 weeks. It's such a heavy time because you are just facing death. Our kids were only 6 and 8 that year. So it's heartbreaking having to tell your children that the poison is now all over Daddy's body, and unless God make a miracle, Daddy's going to go home to heaven, Daddy's going to die. I think that was the hardest for me. And so by the time I got home, the boys were already in bed. And then I waited for them to wake up the next morning. And then I gathered them to my room, and I told them that Mommy didn't come home last night till past midnight because Daddy died. And then they just cried, and we all cried together. We were sitting on the floor and we cried together. And then I asked them, I said, do you know what it means that Daddy died? And my little one, Lucas, just said, Daddy's in heaven, Daddy's not here. I said, yeah. And then my older boy just burst out into a song, Heaven is a wonderful place filled with glory and grace. We were friends since teenagers, So when he died, I really lost a very good friend. I lost my sweetheart, my lover, my soulmate. Because we were in Hong Kong for 10 years, right? Our major part of the married life was really in Hong Kong. And those were the best years, yeah. Best years of my life, yeah. I lost our marriage, missing our home that we built together, missing our community in Hong Kong. Yeah, all that was gone. My pillow was wet every night for the 6 months. You're reminded of his favorite things and his favorite stalls. Those would be triggers. Even seeing a pair of old couple holding hands, walking in the supermarket, seeing families where boys are on Daddy's shoulder. I think that's quite difficult for me, yeah. His favorite songs, yeah, that come on the mall. And then you might have to go to a corner and cry because, yeah, you remember him, things like that. The initial months, when I was still struggling, I would actually drive to Old Holland Road. That's where I would scream. And that's where I would cry. That's where I would read. That's where I would sleep. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of questions. Sometimes I'm angry at God. I say not fair, If you talk about the Chinese culture, it's like death is always like a bad thing because death is bad luck. But I don't subscribe to that because it's your loved one that died. Why would it be bad luck? But I think generally people are not comfortable to talk about bereavement. I think that's how we were brought up, Don't talk about it. Don't cry openly, So you think that you have to cry alone, you have to grieve alone. I think a lot of people think that time will heal. Give it some time. Don't worry, you'll be better in no time. But actually, time is a standstill. Time doesn't do anything. It's what you do in the time of grieving that will help you or set you back. I suppose an analogy that we could use is that if you had a cut from a bicycle, my mom didn't say, oh, never mind, let it bleed, you'll be okay in no time. No. What did we do? We wash it, and then we dry it, and then we put antiseptic, and then we plaster it, right? And then we have to change the dressing, right? And so how is it with a broken heart? We expecting people to just heal because time will heal. The heart's not going to heal by itself, Yeah, so we need to get some treatment for the heart. I think a very big one would be to be able to talk through what had happened, how I felt then, okay, what are some things that I wish I had done or didn't do, some of the regrets. It was 1.5 years after Henry died that I was introduced to a widow. And for the first time, I really felt like somebody understood what it was like for me to be widowed at such a young age. So it was really like an oasis, finding somebody who is able to empathize with you at that deep level. She had an informal group going on. Out of that, we formalized, a support group. I think it was really a knowing that God wants me to do something about my widowhood at a young age. I went 20 years of me serving in that support group and then founding Whispering Hope. Engaging with people with different losses in life. I found it very fulfilling and very encouraging that I can help people navigate through their pain and to recover from it. Grief is like a dark tunnel. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You need to walk through it. And when you walk through it, being able to process your grief, being able to grieve well, you can actually recover from grief and walk through that tunnel into light again.